TikTok changed ownership recently, and a lot of people were talking about how, oh, once TikTok changes ownership, there's going to be like pretty significant changes to your For You page. And I think they were correct. A lot of my For You page before the ownership change was politics related, and now a lot of that content seems to be getting silenced. So TikTok is trying to make up for it. They're trying to keep me interested. So now instead of all the political content, I am getting pretty exclusively edits from old movies and TV shows, anything that had a queer couple, or anything that had like not a queer couple, but people shipped them as a queer couple. So it's been really interesting to see the media that is being pushed to me again. And it's gotten me re-interested in some things that I watched when I was in like middle school and high school. One of the things that has been coming up a lot on my For You page is just an absurd amount of edits from the movie Bloomington. I decided, I guess I will rewatch the movie Bloomington. And I have a lot of thoughts about the movie Bloomington. So I went to IMDb and I was like, okay, I will write a review with my thoughts on the movie, and I will also rate the movie. And sitting there looking at the rating screen, I was like, wow, I'm not even sure what to rate this movie. And I started trying to write a review, and I was like, this isn't, I need to do this in a different format. So here we are. Hi, my name is Elaina. I have a degree in Women's and Gender Studies. I took exactly one course about gender and sexuality in the media, and I also took exactly one course about global film. So I think that makes me qualified to give movie reviews. Bloomington is a movie that came out in 2010, and it was an indie movie, so it didn't have like a huge audience. Unless you were on Tumblr and you were between the ages of like 15 to 22, then it had a whole lot of traction. The lesbians went wild with this movie. So what is it? This movie follows primarily two characters. We have Jacqueline Kirk, who is an ex-childhood TV star, who played on a show that we're expected to believe is like Star Trek, but instead of adults on the spaceship, they're teenagers. So she's an ex-childhood star. What's she doing now? She decides that she wants to go to college. The other character who we follow is Catherine Stark, who is a professor at the college that Jackie is attending. And the whole movie is supposed to be these two characters have a forbidden love affair. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the plot. What goes on in the movie? So the movie essentially starts with Jackie sitting in her professor, academic advisor's office, and he is just kind of talking at her.
I'm going to assign you to Psych 110 since that's the prerequisite for everything else. Next semester, if you decide to double major, you can beef up your psych classes.
So she's sitting in the office listening to this man just talk at her, and Catherine Stark comes into the office to talk to this man. She goes, here's the syllabus for 209. And they have this weird exchange where he's like, oh, you have the longest wait list in the department. I don't know how you do it. Like, you're doing such a good job. And Catherine is like, thank you. Like, she does not want to talk to this man. And she and Jackie make eye contact. And in that moment, I think what the movie is trying to convey is it was immediate. The attraction was immediate. They wanted each other immediately. But you don't really get that. So what happens next? Jackie signs up for a study group for her psychology class, and she has this interaction in the very first study group where they are talking about the course. And then someone mentions Catherine Stark. And she goes, who's Catherine Stark? And they say, oh, she's another professor. She teaches 209. And they share all of this information, all of these rumors about what is going on with Catherine Stark. And they're things that could be, but are pretty unlikely, such as she's in witness protection because her parents were in the mob. There are things that are just impossible, such as she is a vampire. And there are things that, what do I want to say here? We understand that these things are true, but there is so much stigma around what is being said that, like, we don't want to believe it. So what are they saying? They're saying that she sleeps with her students, Catherine, she sleeps with her students, and then once the university finds out, the students disappear. Jackie asks one of the other people in her study group,
has she ever tried to do that with you?
And that is when we find out.
I don't think boys are exactly her bag.
Someone says, I've heard that maybe she actually does both, and implying that Catherine Stark is maybe bisexual or pansexual. But it really doesn't matter, because the important thing for the audience to know in this moment is that Catherine Stark is gay. And so if she is going to go after anyone, obviously it's going to be our main character. And the way that happens doesn't make sense. That is a common theme in this movie. Nothing makes sense. None of the scenes make any logical sense at all. So after study group, Jackie goes home. She has a conversation with her mom. It doesn't go very well. And then next scene, we are in a hallway. This is the hallway where the psych professor's offices are. So we can kind of assume that she's there to talk to her psych professor. But that doesn't happen because she sees Catherine round the corner carrying a comically large stack of books. Jackie goes up to her and says, "Let me help you," because she's trying to get into the door, but she's carrying about 15 books, and so she can't go into her office because she has too many books. This is where we have the first real conversation between our two characters, and we can already tell that this is gonna be a nightmare. This is not gonna go well. So they walk into the office, they set their books down, and Jackie notices something on a shelf. And she goes, "Oh, what is this? Is this like a projector or a camera of some sort?" And Catherine says, "No, that is an ECT machine." And remember, Jackie is a child acting star. So what is her question, her next question?
Oh, so it's like a prop?
Catherine says, "No, it's the real thing." And then they have this conversation where Jackie finds out what ECT stands for, electroconvulsive therapy. She finds out that this machine is actually to shock people, and Catherine gets a lot closer to her, like physically moves across the room, so they're standing very close to each other. Jackie gets uncomfortable, and she goes,
"Okay, I gotta go to class now."
Jackie leaves. It's awkward. But what happens next is where things really kick off. So we're sitting in class with Jackie and her study group friends. And one of them goes, "Are you going to the mixer on Thursday?" So there's this mixer that they're supposed to go to, which is supposed to be like the students get to meet with the faculty and staff and just like make connections and talk to each other. So next thing we know, we are at the mixer along with the characters. The two people from the study group decide to leave Jackie because they need to go talk to one of the other professors and convince him to move back the midterm.
Hey, Reach, come with me. Scary Barry is finally alone. I need to talk him into pushing back the midterm.
Because that's a thing that you could just do, I guess, in college. Jackie is standing there. She looks that way, and Catherine Stark is standing over there. She does this kind of like, and starts walking over towards Catherine. Catherine gets distracted, someone else comes up to her, and so Jackie decides, well, you know what I'm gonna do? Instead of waiting my turn, I'm just gonna leave, because I don't really want to be here. She goes and she stands in a corner away from people. The next scene, Catherine comes up to her and asks why she is hiding in the corner. Jackie admits that she doesn't really want to be there. She's pretty uncomfortable. But she's trying her best. Catherine introduces herself. She says, "I don't think we've actually been formally introduced." And she says, "My name is Catherine Stark." And Jackie, seemingly forgetting her own name, goes, "Jacqueline Kirk." Just like that. Just like that.
Jacqueline Kirk.
Catherine goes, "All right, the famous one." Because of course everyone knows this ex-child star is here now. She's famous. Jackie decides to say, "So are you, from what I hear." Because remember, we in the study group learned all of these things about Catherine Stark. She sleeps with her students. She's a vampire. She's in the witness protection program. And at one point they found the body of a student in the trunk of her car. A lot of allegations. Catherine asks, "What have you heard about me?" Because we can kind of guess at this point that Catherine knows people talk about her, but she's not in the conversations where people are talking about her, so she doesn't know what's being said. Jackie, instead of expanding, which is probably a good idea to not expand, she just says, I've heard that I should stay away from you. Just leaves it at that. Catherine says, "You should probably listen to your friends then." And then kisses her. And then asks, "Do you want to come back to my place?" Jackie says no, and then they go back to her place. And this is where we have the first scene where it is implied that they have sex. It's awkward. I watched this movie for the first time when I was maybe like 15 or 16, and rewatching it now as an adult, the thing that surprised me the most is how quickly things move. So everything that I have just described, the first looks in the office, all of the study group, the mixer, all of this is the first like 15 minutes of the movie. It seems very fast-paced, very unbelievable. But the implication that we are supposed to understand is that this is all happening very quickly because it was just an instant. Just an instant. They looked at each other and they knew that they needed to be together. Which isn't really what you actually see when you watch the movie. It's just kind of a jump that you need to make to understand what's happening. So moving on from here, what is the movie about? And this will be spoiler-free. So the movie is about this relationship, this budding relationship that apparently started so hot and heavy that they just had to have each other. So the movie talks about them exploring this hot and heavy relationship, but at the same time, Jackie is being called back to acting by her old manager, Wade. So we are having this experience where these two women are really happy with each other, but there's this underlying tension of, will Jackie go back to acting and leave Catherine across the country? The movie is about these two characters trying to have this relationship, but they know they can't tell anyone because it is taboo in so many different ways. It is a professor-student relationship, it is a relationship between two women, and it is a pretty significant age gap relationship. So they can't tell anyone. But that's not really a problem because neither of the main characters really have, like, friends. From the perspective of film, I think this movie is bad. I don't think that this movie does a good job being a movie about any of the things it attempts to be about. And I think it is attempting to be an exploration of fantasy. And there are 3 specific fantasies that I think that they are trying to get to, and they don't do a great job getting to any of them. So I think the 3 things that we are trying to explore is the college experience, this taboo relationship between a professor and a student, and Jackie's tumultuous relationship with her mother. The depiction of college as like an experience is bad. What they really do here is they pretty much take every college stereotype and say, what if all of them happened all at once? So, for example, the scene at the mixer. They're all standing there holding their red Solo cups. Why? Well, because people at college, they drink things out of red Solo cups when they're at a party, so obviously they need to be drinking out of red Solo cups at this mixer. But what is not understood is that people drink out of red Solo cups because they're playing beer pong. That's not what's happening in our scene. It doesn't make sense. The connections that they're trying to make between the college experience and what they are depicting on the screen, it's like they're trying to make the connection, but this is happening. There's nothing connecting between the two. The next thing that they really try and explore is the fantasy of what if, when I was in college, I had a relationship with a professor, an attractive professor who was younger than other people but still significantly older than me. And I don't think that this is a good depiction of that either. I don't think we really get to explore any of the relationship. I don't think they take any risks with the film. And I will circle back to that idea a little bit later, but what I mean by that is the movie is about Jackie and Catherine having this hot and heavy relationship. They see each other, they immediately want each other, and they go at it very hard, very quickly. But no, they don't. I was on IMDb looking up reviews of this movie to see what other people were saying, and a 2 out of 10 review caught my eye, and I want to read a portion of this review to you. This review is actually from 2025, which I thought was interesting because this movie came out in 2010, so this is 15 years after the fact. The review starts with this person saying, "This whole thing is unrealistic, it doesn't make any sense, what is going on, essentially." But this is the part of the review that really caught my eye. And then, 2 adults claiming to have slept together. We haven't seen one single sex scene. Not even one boob or underwear. The movie director acted like sex was a bad, inappropriate, and inhuman thing. But maybe that's all they ever did, only sleeping next to each other the whole time. And I thought that that was really poignant, because every single scene where they are where we are supposed to understand that what they are doing is having sex. That's not the depiction that's actually happening. They just kind of sit there. They just kind of chit-chat, which, sure, I guess sex can look different to different people, but there's not really any intimacy. From the perspective of, we are exploring this hot and heavy relationship. No, we're not. The movie does not do that. It explores the emotional connection of how do we move forward with this taboo relationship, being a professor and a student at the same university, but they don't actually show us what we need to see. They don't show us the characters having this hot and heavy relationship. They just say the characters are having a hot and heavy relationship. They don't actually explore any sort of sexuality, not from the perspective of sexuality being like gay or straight, but from sexuality as like beings that have sex. So the depiction of the college experience, bad. The depiction of the relationship itself, bad. The exploration of Jackie's relationship with her mother. I think that this is not talked about enough. Jackie has this strained relationship with her mother. We come to understand that Jackie, for most of the time that she was shooting this show, her mother wasn't really there. And that caused a lot of issues for them because Jackie was a child. She wanted her mother to be there for her. But she wasn't. So now that she's an adult, her mother is trying so hard to show Jackie that she cares about her, but she's doing it in all the wrong ways. It's not actually a, I love you because you are my child. It's a, I love you because you have done things that now I can talk and boast about. Jackie doesn't like that. Jackie says that she wants her mother to be her mother. She doesn't want her mother to be just like some lady. This is a relationship that I really wish the movie would have explored more, and I say that for two reasons. The first reason is that the relationship that we're supposed to be really invested in between Jackie and Catherine, they just don't depict it very well. So you kind of want something else. The other reason that I really wish they would have explored this more is I feel like it is a really accurate description or depiction of a strained on the way to estranged relationship between a parent and a child. And what I mean by that is Jackie's entire argument boils down to, you are my mother and I needed you there for me and you were not. And the mother's immediate response to hearing that isn't, I am so sorry for what I did or didn't do. Her immediate response is, I guess I'm just the worst mother in the world. I can't do anything right. And that is the most accurate part of the film. That is the perfect depiction of a mother who failed her child and refuses to acknowledge her failures. The writing on this portion of the film, the relationship between Jackie and her mother, makes me wonder, like, was there someone on the writing staff who genuinely did have some sort of tumultuous relationship with a parent? It's so accurate that my only comments are, obviously, this is coming from someone who knows this experience. And I do think it really is a shame that the strongest writing is in this relationship between Jackie and her mother. Because the movie is supposed to be about the relationship between Jackie and Catherine. And you are watching this movie and you're supposed to want to root for the main characters. And you can sort of root for the main character when she's standing up to her mother, but you don't really root for her ever in this relationship, which is the primary focus of the film. I think it's disappointing. When I went to go rate it, I was thinking, well, obviously this will be rated fairly low because the film itself is not great. But I couldn't convince myself to leave a rating of like 3 or 4, and I wasn't sure why. So I thought about it for a few more days. I've been thinking about this movie for weeks now. I thought about it for a few more days, and I think the reason that I couldn't bring myself to rate it lower than like 5 is because there are a lot of cultural implications with this film that I think need to be taken into consideration. Something really important about this film is that There's this thing called the Bechdel test, which is a way of looking at media and seeing women's roles in media. So for something to pass the Bechdel test, you need to have two named female characters who have a conversation about something other than a man. So it's just a way to look at media and kind of see what are the different roles in society. This is a film which passes the Bechdel test. Most of the characters that we see are female, and they're talking to each other about things other than men. Jackie and Catherine are having this whole relationship where they talk to each other about each other. They talk to each other about their life experiences. And sure, maybe men are mentioned, but it's not the primary focus of their discussions. Even when Jackie is talking with the people at her study group, yeah, there are men there, but we still do have two named female characters talking to each other about something other than a man. So this is a movie that shows you that the female characters do not necessarily need to talk about men all the time. This is something that tries very hard to center women. Another thing that I think is really important about this film is that it shows queer joy. And yeah, it does a pretty poor job at that, but it's still trying. Something that happens in a lot of queer media, especially media with lesbians, is it's called the kill your gays trope or bury your gays trope, where one or both of the characters will die. They will be killed off. It is a way that people try and make queer media palatable. And what I mean by that is they take what should be a happy relationship and they say, well, this isn't going to do well in the box office because it's two women. Like, that's not acceptable. So what are we going to do? We're going to let them have their moment and then we're going to kill them off so that they can't continue to have that moment. They can't continue to be joyful and happy. This movie doesn't fall into that. No one dies. It doesn't show a very realistic, happy relationship, but it shows a relationship where we can see that there is supposed to be joy. That is important. Something that I do think is interesting, though, is that the film tries so hard to center women. It tries so hard to center queer women, and it tries to center not just queer women in a relationship, but queer women in a, we're expected to believe, happy relationship. And at the same time, because they take absolutely zero risks at all in the entire film, it's also still a film that's like acceptable to a straight audience. What I mean by that is, like, with that review that I read from IMDb, they don't ever show the characters having any sort of intimate relationship. It's implied, but it's not ever actually shown. They're showing us that, like, it is okay for you to be gay, but it's not okay for you to be gay and have sex with each other. Or, we can understand that you're gay and that's fine, but we're not going to show you actually being intimate. We're not going to show you having these, like, deep emotional connections. We're going to be very surface level. They also, this is the most spoiler part of what I'm going to say about the film. Both of the main characters at one point sleep with a man. So they're showing that, like, these characters, we've come to understand that they're gay, but don't worry, they're the good kind of gay where they still like men. That is problematic. And also, because they don't take any risks, like, the whole film is just so unbelievable. So it's acceptable for someone to watch, for a straight person to watch, because at no point does it feel real. It is frustrating because you want so badly for it to be good. And it's not. But I can't help but really like the fact that even though it's bad, I guess they're trying. So circling back to my rating on the film, what would I rate this on a scale of 1 to 10? I think the absolute most that I can rate this is a 6. And I say that for a few reasons. So I think the biggest detriment to the film is the film itself, which, I mean, that's a big part of rating a movie. The main reasons that I rate the film so highly, and I mean 6 isn't like a good number out of 10, but higher than you would maybe expect, is because of the cultural implications. This is a film that took Tumblr by storm. This is something that people made so many gift sets of. They started writing fan fiction. They had so much love for this film because it tries so hard to center not only women, but queer women. It tries so hard to be about queer joy and not queer trauma. So my notes here that I wrote on construction paper, this is objectively not good. This is the sentence that I really wanted to share. It's not about the movie. Which is maybe not what you want to say in a movie review, but it's really not about the movie. It's about what this movie is doing. This movie is trying to show a queer relationship between two women, no one dies, and that's important. As bad as the movie is, it was something. I think if you're wanting a movie that really explores the taboo nature of a relationship between a teacher and a student, you're going to be severely disappointed by this movie. I do think that this movie has a purpose, and it's more about trying to showcase a queer relationship, trying to showcase queer joy. I think if you want something that better, and I hesitate to say better, but better depicts the actual like taboo nature of a teacher-student relationship, a better option, again, hesitate to say better, would be the movie Loving Annabelle. And I hesitate to say better because that movie is incredibly problematic. I don't think I would actually recommend anyone watch it. But I do think it does a really good job actually exploring a relationship that everyone involved, the people involved and the audience watching knows this cannot happen. I say that the movie is incredibly problematic because while Bloomington is about a college professor and a student, Loving Annabelle is about a high school student and her teacher. So several trigger warnings there. Again, I don't think I would actually recommend anyone watch it. I think another alternative, if you do want a movie that really explores like the taboo relationship, the nature of having a taboo relationship, could be Carol. Carol came out in, I think, 2015. And it is still an age gap, so that's one taboo. But then the other taboo is that it is a period piece, so it takes place in, I believe, the 40s. And so it's a taboo relationship because they are both women in the 1940s. So, to recap, the movie Bloomington, as a film, bad. But I also don't think it's actually about the movie itself. I think it's what the movie is and what it represents to the queer community. This represents a movie where two women are in a relationship with each other, and that relationship not at all revolves around a man. It is important to recognize that that alone isn't enough. Like, queer people deserve better media than this. For its time, revolutionary. If it came out right now, that review that I read from IMDb, I think is the review I saw that said, if this came out now, it would be accused of being AI, and like, yeah. So if you're gonna watch the movie Bloomington, be ready to be disappointed. But at least Catherine Stark is attractive.